Welcome all our Torah Anytime viewers. We are on the second class, series on Mashiach. This topic in itself could be a mini series in a series. Think of it as like a dream in a dream. And but it's the end of days. The title is going to be the end of days. What happens at the end of days? All the prophecies. How do we understand them? How do we prepare for them? How do we know it's coming? And I don't want to sound one of those people like, those rapture, like, it's coming, the end is coming. But literally the end is coming, If I sounded less crazy saying that. When we're going to look into this, the more that you see, all these signs, by the way, we're going to speak about the signs that either the Zohar says, the Gemara says, or the Tanakh says. When you look at these signs, you're going to literally be like, you would think that you're reading a newspaper from today's day and age. So it's going to be obvious, not only for me now, but it's going to be very obvious for you. And once we get through this series, it's going to be very obvious for you that like Mashiach is literally at the door. And as we spoke last week, one of the things why it's so important is because you want to be ready for it. You don't want it to come and you're going to be like, not ready to actually, join in it. So for that, we'll start with the first Gemara. The first Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin, page 98. It says that Rabbah, he was, it says that Mashiach should come, but I should not see him. Which is obvious question. Why would he say that? Why wouldn't he want to see him? So we're soon going to see that there's a lot of things that's going to happen at the end of days that is very scary and very, what's the word I want to look for? Not fun. That in that time, so you don't necessarily want to be in that personal situation. But the students of Rabbi asked him, says, we don't understand, Rabbi. He says, it says that if you do two things, you're saved in the times of Mashiach. By the way, this is the tip. If you want to be saved in the times of Mashiach, I don't know if we spoke about it last week. I don't know if I didn't even speak about it yet. But there's different opinions. One opinion is a third of the world is going to die during the final stages. A third of the world is going to get injured, and a third of the world is going to make it. Everybody in generally thinks what? Don't worry about it. I'm the third of the world that's going to make it. I got this. I gave charity like 3 weeks ago. I'm like, definitely an angel status right now. And then you have other opinion that says amongst the Jewish nation, which we spoke about 2 weeks ago, is only 20% will survive. Which means 80% will not even make it. So you want to make sure you're in that 20%, you're in that third, or whatever category you want to go. Hopefully, we'll soon see that it doesn't necessarily have to be bad. It could actually be also good. So you definitely want to be in the part that's going to make it regardless of the situation. So there's two things that you do, and you are good. And those two things are, one is Torah, learning Torah, and number two is Gemilut Chasadim. That's what the Gemara says. If you have those two things, then you are good. You are going to make it, you're going to survive, you're going to have a fun ride. What about, so they asked this rabbi, says, Rabbi, we don't understand. You're talking about a rabbi from the Gemara. You know what a rabbi from the Gemara is? Could be mechayem etim. It could revive the dead. It could do so much. He could accomplish so much, and of the highest caliber level, you're telling him, if you're scared, then what that leaves for us? If the rabbi in the time of the Gemara was scared, he says, let him come, but I don't want to be part of it. That's very scary for us. So the rabbi answered back. He answers back with this. What happened with Yaakov Avinu? God tells Yaakov Avinu, he says, listen, I'm going to be with you on your journey. And Yaakov Avinu was still scared. So they asked, well, why was he scared? God, you can't get better than that. God literally comes and says, don't worry, I'll be with you. You'll be like, where do you want me to jump off? Empire State Building? If God gives you a stamp of approval, like you're okay, you have nothing to worry about. So what was Yaakov worried about? And the answer is he was worried about because maybe he did a sin. And maybe he's going to lose that protection. So too this rabbi was nervous and afraid that even though he does have Torah and Masim Tovim, but maybe he's going to lose that protection based on something or some sin or some whatever action that he did. Why do I say that right off the bat? Is because when I first started and I said, I don't know about the girls, but definitely for any guy that's listening to this, guaranteed 90% of the guys, when I said you need two things and you'll be survived in the times of Mashiach, you need Torah and Masim Tovim, 90% of the guys said, phew, all right, I'll make it. I'm good. Yeah, I learned 6 weeks ago for an hour. Crazy. And I gave charity this morning. I gave a quarter to somebody. And I'm like, definitely. Masim Tovim, check. I'm all good. And what it has to come to as our reminder, and if the rabbi at the time of the Gemara was nervous about it, then maybe we should also be nervous about it and make sure that, basically up our game. Do what we need to do, because you don't want to, when Mashiach comes, it's game over. It's not like, oh, all right, I'm going to be religious now. I'm like, all right, no, thank you, but no thank you. You can't do anything anymore. It's the end of the day, end of the game. So the time for when Mashiach is actually supposed to come is actually is a closely guarded secret. A secret so good that no one knows. Because you know what they say: if you want to let some information out in public, you tell one person, don't tell anybody, and that's it. Everybody knows about it. But this secret is so good that nobody knows about it, so no one can tell anybody. So it's a closely guarded secret that no one knows about it. And however, the Torah says, and does gives us signs to know the proximity of it, and that's the goal over today and the next few classes that we speak about Mashiach on trying to understand these signs. What do these signs mean? How are we to understand them, and how are we to learn something out of them? So I want to share with you that we'll go first in brief. And by the way, if you go on, you go online, you read books, you read anything that on Mashiach topic, you will see that there is tons. First of all, there's tons of information. It's a hot topic. People love it. End of days. Ooh, it's scary. Yeah, what's gonna happen? The sky's gonna fall down. Everyone's like, like everyone's all into it's like the bad gossip. Everyone's on yeah, this is what I don't. It drives me crazy. Like when the whole thing about gossip. Is you tell somebody you want to hear some bad news, the person's face lights up, it like shines, like, oh, yeah, what you got? What you got? Yeah, tell me, please. I've been waiting for it. All of a sudden, you're so happy, your heart starts pounding. It's like butterflies. You're like, oh my God, I'm gonna hear some bad news. And people thrive off this. It's weird, but you have certain topics that become hot topics. Sometimes for a good reason, sometimes for a bad reason. I'm not saying this is good or bad. It's always good to to learn what you enjoy, but. It's an interesting thing to think about it. But it says in the time before Mashiach comes, there is going to be a lack of scholars. There's going to be a lot of troubles after troubles after troubles. There's going to be famines. There's going to be poverty. There's going to be nations provoking each other and fighting each other. Right? If you know just a little bit what's going on in the world, then you know that nations fight, provoking each other. It's like everybody's like touching on the nuclear button, seeing who's going to pull it first. It's all, we'll soon see what's going on in the Middle East, and we'll speak about Russia, we'll speak about a bunch of current events. So, when you look at the world, it looks as if God is asleep. And this is what it classifies as the birth pangs of Mashiach. This is what actually happens before Mashiach comes. So, this is also why when you see when we're going to read how much terrible things are supposed to happen before Mashiach comes, it's no wonder that the rabbis, what they said was, be like, let it come, but I don't want to be, I don't want to see it. But at the same point in time, not only do we want it to come, we have to anticipate it coming, regardless of everything that we're going to speak about that's bad or that appears bad. The point of going through this is that all the troubles and the agonies of the birth pangs of Mashiach, we have to realize that it's not unavoidable. We could avoid it. It is possible that everything can be avoided if we do what we need to do. There is also good signs that Mashiach is going to come. Number one, there's going to be a good prosperity. There'll be a lot of wealth in the world. And if you realize, it's very contradicting to what I said 30 seconds ago. I said first poverty, famine, and then wealth. But if you just look at the world, it's 100% true. There's a world has you look at America, Baruch Hashem has tremendous wealth. And you look at places, outside of America, is tremendous poverty, famine. You look at the world where we have over here, where I don't know what McDonald's throws out, or what the amount of garbage of food that is good that we get thrown out, and people over there would have died for it. So you see famine, you see poverty, and you see wealth at the same time. But you don't even have to look that far. You look at our society, right? Wherever you are, one house, multi-millionaire. Next house, struggling to put food on the table. The house right after that, a multi-billionaire. The house after that, you look at in the same community, you have such a wide variety of different population. First wealth, and then poverty at the same time. So the furthermore that there's going to be before Mashiach comes, there's going to be a renewal of Torah study. Which, if you know anything about Jewish history, there is so much Torah study nowadays. You look at Israel, you look at even in America. Forget about even going too far. You look at every corner is another shul. Some of them have learning programs. Some of them have this, but the amount of Torah that we have nowadays is unprecedented. And you also have that the gates of wisdom will be open. The gates of wisdom above and below. And there was a calculation done of when is exactly these gates of wisdom supposed to be opening up and things like that. And it turns out it was right around the time. It was the mid 1800s, right around the time with the scientific revolution. I think it was at that time, right? What?
The Enlightenment?
Before that, no, not the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment was just, was. I'm talking about the actual, well, maybe it correlated. Where all of a sudden, you had science, they created a wheel, right? It was awesome. Like in 10, like 6, like whatever it is, I don't know, 600, but like you're talking about 2,000 years later, then they created a wagon. Like they're slowly, and then all of a sudden you have like airplanes, trains, cars, cell phones, things that just like, like it's obvious that where did all this information all of a sudden come from? We've been around for 5,000 plus years in this earth. And in the past 200 years, we have more scientific discoveries than we had in the past 5,000 years combined. So you think about it, like where did that come from? One of the reasons is that the gates of wisdom was opened up. There was a wellspring of knowledge that God allowed to come into the world. And if you think about it, even if you take it a step further, you look how it's preceded. You had you had in the early 1900s. So you had technology was coming out, and then what, I don't know when the black and white TV came out. The black and white TV stuck around for a while. You had a radio for a long time where everyone watched the radio, and then all of a sudden you have like in the past like 20 or 30 years the speed of technology. It doesn't even make sense anymore. It's like crazy. You have a phone. If a phone is out for 3 months, it's old. It's not even worth so much anymore. Unless it's an Apple iPhone, and those things hold value. But most of everything else it's worth almost nothing. You take a phone for the 2 years old, it's useless. It's nothing. It's useless. You take anything of technology, it's so fast. Even you look at cars, which everything, and you think about it, these things that they need, it takes time to pass. Like they have regulations and all these things. But look at the speed that it goes. Self-driving cars, they have and they already have it. There's some. You look outside in the parking lot. There's one.
Self-driving cars.
Tesla's driving itself.
Yeah. Thank you. See, you could do it, and it drives itself to the location. Take a nap.
It's like autopilot, but
yeah.
cars.
So you look at it's scary. By the way, they're considering also. I saw an article today about a taxi in a drone. It's a one-person taxi drone. You get inside. You just push. There's no handlebars. You don't fly it. You just push the navigation, where you want to go, and it just takes you there. You think about it. It flies. Yeah, drone. So it has the four.
Where are they having this?
I don't know. I didn't read that. It's still in research and development, but it's something that it appears to be close. But who knows?
It's not going to be for civilians though.
No, I think it was meant for civilians. I don't know. It's probably, who knows, in some.
Robot nurses.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They're having that.
What?
You know what? It's funny because you talk about like China. China's like is first of all, they're so much like smarter than Americans. It's like they wake up at 3 a.m. to practice the violin for like 6 hours, and then for like 12 hours they do math. And then for the rest of the time, they're like ninjas. And, and then you go over there, but they're so smart, but then you have them, that they're putting the iPads together, right? These phones. Thank you for the Chinese little children and Kindle. Thank you very much for making my phone. What do? It's so, it's like literally, but you know how bad it is? Talk about poverty and wealth in one place. You know that they have to put, where they assemble these things, that they have to put, they put nets around the buildings. So when people want to commit suicide, they sort of like bounce right back in. So it's ridiculous. You have like people that own these like factories and things. You have wealth, and then you have poverty, and the same thing. Exactly what the times of Mashiach is going to be. But I don't know how we got to Asians. Anyways, so yeah, okay. Scientific. Oh, also there is going to be. There's something very interesting that it's one of the prophecies is in the future Jerusalem is going to expand and it's going to take over the entire Israel as we know it today. Now, if you went to
Before Mashiach?
in the times of Mashiach, the Jerusalem, what used to be, if anybody's familiar with Jerusalem, it used to be the old city. The old city you could walk in a very short amount. I wouldn't recommend it because it's populated by not the best of people. The Arabs. I'm not talking about the Jews over there. So it's tiny. It's really small. But you look about Jerusalem now, it not quadrupled. It went 10 times the size of where it is now. And even more so, they're even considering putting there's like a bunch of like a little, I don't know if you call it cities that are near Jerusalem that are considered of putting it part of Jerusalem. Bet Shemesh, and there's a few other ones that they're considering to actually put it part of Jerusalem. So you see the prophecy actually happening where it used to be, not that long ago, 100 years ago, Jerusalem used to be the old city. That's it. And now, look how it's expanding. Look how it's really, you could see it's like literally getting fulfilled. It says also, there's a pasuk in Amos, in chapter 8, verse 11. it says that in the end of days, Vishalachti rav ba'aretz, and I send a hunger to the land. Lo rav lalechem, not a hunger for bread. Velo tzama lamayim, and not a thirst for water. Ki im lishmoa divrei Hashem, but rather a hunger, a thirst to hear the words of God. And to explain this, right now there's something called the Baal Tshuva movement, which is literally, usually when you hear about Tshuva, 50, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 300 years ago, like one person, he made a sin and he came back and he's doing Baal Tshuva. Even though, by the way, we should all classify ourselves as a Baal Tshuva. Anybody, if you sin once already and you did Tshuva, you're a Baal Tshuva. So we should all classify ourselves as Baal Tshuva, but if you look at it nowadays, it's something that is unprecedented that we ever had before. We have nowadays in the amount of Baal Tshuva is not like one or two people. There's like throngs of people. There's like groups and sects and literally communities that are becoming Baal Tshuva. And just look at what's going on in our community. You don't have to go too far. So it says in the last prophet before the next prophet, which is going to be Mashiach, says in this prophet of Malachi, and it says at the end of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 23 and 24. It says, "Hinei anochi sholach et lachem et Eliyahu Navi." I'm going to send to you Eliyahu Navi, and it says, "Veheshiv lev avot al banim velev banim al avotam." It says something very interesting. It says that the children are going to bring back the fathers. You look at it. You know how the transition, it's not even transition, it's, the way that the Torah was given over was child, from parent to child, parent to child, parent to child, and so on and so forth until the end of time. This generation is completely backwards. This generation, the children are becoming religious, and they're going and they're saying, okay, mom and dad, it's time for you to, keep Shabbat, don't do this. Everyone, they're all becoming the rabbis and the rebbetzins of the house, and they're telling them exactly what to do. You think about it, that doesn't make any sense at all. It should be the other way around. And this is exactly what the prophet, the Malachi, is speaking about. And you think about it, it makes zero sense, not very zero, it's complete zero sense. When you're young, you have ambition. You want to do a lot in life. You want to work. You want to enjoy. You want to party. You want to do good. You want to enjoy life. And yet you see young people, just look around the room, you see young people that are coming to learn Shiur Torah when you could have been in movies and clubs and bars and who knows what, but yet you're coming to learn Shiur Torah, which is, by the way, is amazing. Thank you. I wouldn't be here if you guys wouldn't be here. But you're coming to these, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. That's why generally, you know what it is, when you get older, and then when you settle down, that's when you're going to be, maybe I'll become religious, maybe keep Shabbat. When do you see that young people are starting to keep Shabbat? And you see it nowadays. You know why? Because it's the end of times. And the end of times, God is like, oh, come on, let's go guys. We got to wrap this up. Doors are closing very soon. Time to, and you see exactly the prophecy that is happening. And I don't, on a weekly basis, maybe on a monthly basis, depending on the week and the month, I get time and time again the same questions. How do I speak to my parents? What am I supposed to tell my parents? I want them to be more religious. What am I supposed to do? This is a question that the rabbis never used to get. Because the parents would be the ones that are religious, and the children that would go off. Usually the children that go off usually don't really have that many kids, or they don't care about the kids that are going, so they don't have that question that comes back in itself. So it's really, when you see these prophecies, it should be like it's now a day and age. There's no denying the fact that it's right now. There is also when the time of the Mabul, when the flood came, there was it appeared God literally showered them with everything. They got like the people, the generation of the flood, they had wealth, they had lived long lives, they had power, they had all the desires they met. And you look at it and be like, God, what are you doing? They're sitting against you, and they're having the most amazing life. So God, works in a way that sometimes, if you're not able to open your eyes, you're not able to actually see it. And we see that also in the end of days. You see bad things happening to the Jews. There's Israel going under attack, and there's so many things. Time and again, it looks as if God is sleeping, but we don't see the full picture. You know why God gave them such a good life in the Mabul? Because God said, "Listen, you guys lost it all. You're not getting anything in the next world. I'm going to pay you back for the little good that you did over here, and you're done. Gamalna, you're finished, and that's it." For the Jewish people, there's a purpose and a reason why there is these times of troubles before Mashiach comes. God is shaping us and putting us in the right path, so we should go in the right place that we need to be, so we could be in the end of the days where we need to be, so that we would actually be able to survive that. It says also that another prophecy is in Ketuvot, and Megamah in Ketuvot. Page 112b, it says that there will be, at the time of the generation of Mashiach, there's going to be accusations against Chachamim. And if you look at, I don't know what's the story now in Israel, but I know that up to a certain point, I remember a while ago, they wanted to actually draft people that are learning in Torah. They wanted to draft them into the army. I don't know if it's still that, if it's going back and forth. It's still, I don't know if it's still, it's still going back and forth.
Depends on who's like.
But you have over here, it's literally, you see the accusations are going against the people that are learning Torah all day. It's not that, they're smoking drugs and they're just hanging out and they're wasting time. They're sitting and learning Torah all day, and yet they're trying to pull them away from that. It says also that in the Gemara in Sanhedrin, page 98, it says the clearest sign that when Mashiach is going to come is when Israel gives tremendous fruit. When it's going to give tremendous fruit. Because if you think about it, 100 years ago, we spoke about this briefly 2 weeks ago. 100 years ago, Israel was a swamp, a desert. It was nothing. It was full of malaria, full of everyone. It was a death trap. And you look at it now. If you've ever been to Israel, Israel have the most delicious fruits that you have ever tasted. You go, you eat in Israel, and then you eat over here. You look like it feels rotten. It could be the freshest peach, but you're like, oh, where's the flavor? You're spoiled. Israel, it's like you take a bite and there's everything like drips all over the place, like splurt, like a gusher of a thing. It's delicious. And you come over here, it doesn't even taste good. It doesn't. So you look at it nowadays. It looks, it makes no sense. Like Israel was a swamp. And that's why we spoke about last time, why it wasn't inhabited. Was that the right word? Yeah, let's move on. So there is, I wish I could say English is not my first language. Well, actually I could. But, it's not, it was left, like there was nobody there living there. There's a few people here, a few people there, until recently. Until once the Jews came in and they sort of put all the technology and all the scientific research, and they built up the entire country. All of a sudden now everybody wants it. It's you invest in a business and you go and you try to ask this person for money, this person for money. Everyone says no, and finally you make it really big. Like the thing about it, Facebook, be like, oh yeah, I want to lend you some money. I'm like, you know what? I don't need your money. And all of a sudden everyone wants to get the part of the winning team. So, anyways, moving forward. It says that in the time before Mashiach comes, the Chachamim are not going to have peace. And what it means is, the explanation is that they're not going to have peace from the Yetzer Hara. What happens is that the general, if somebody has an evil inclination and they want the temptation, whatever it is for something, and they want to get rid of that temptation, they learn Torah. When you learn Torah, it sort of like calms the temptation down. So the Talmidei Chachamim, which have it on a high, even though they have a stronger evil inclination, but at the same time they have the Torah, so they're able to calm it down. Now it says that, so the question is why specifically before Mashiach comes is going to be more difficult for the Talmidei Chachamim, and the answer is before Mashiach comes, the evil inclination gets killed, which is one of the reasons, by the way, why is that you can't like all of a sudden decide that you're going to be religious then. Of course you're going to be religious then because you're not going to have an evil inclination. You're not going to have any temptation to do anything else. So the way that it works, and if anybody's in, I guess we could explain it in the medical field. If anybody's been, let's say, near or if a family member that passed away, the way that it works is the person gets sicker and sicker and sicker, and right before he passes away or she passes away, they suddenly get a little you see like a little boost in their their life, their energy, yeah, and then they just pass away. And that is that. If you see that's throughout all life. There's also let's say the sun. The night is dark. When is it the most darkest? Right before the sun comes out. And you have also, for example, flower. Let's say you starve a flower and you don't give any water. Right before it's going to die, it's going to use all its last energy to produce a seed, and then it's going to die. And this is the way it generally works. Right before, and this is also the Satan. The Satan is going to die. But right before it's die, it's going to use all its power to just try to accomplish as much as it could. That's what you have nowadays. You have we'll soon see that we're going to speak about that in time before Mashiach. It's going to be chutzpah. There's going to be a lot of, how do you translate chutzpah? Chutzpah, I think, made it in the dictionary. Everybody knows chutzpah already, right? Disrespect. I think it made it in the Webster's dictionary. Yeah. It's like, yeah, there's I think that made the cut, like one of the Yiddish words. Only the bad stuff can get in there.
A lot of chutzpah today, I'll tell you that. What's going on after the election, right? Like everyone's like, not my president, not my actress.
Oh yeah, don't get me started. I could speak about that for like 10 hours just on that. It drives me crazy. You're talking about the people. All right, whatever. I'll speak about it. So you talk about, and this is what is such hypocrites. Who are the ones that are causing the most troubles? The liberals. What do the liberals always want? The liberals always want, let's do peace, let's love, let's hold hands and move around back and forth and not kill any animals and not do anything, all back and forth, and they all they care about is love. And meanwhile, they're the ones that are destroying, causing problems.
Burning flags.
Burning more than just flags, and they're doing all these things for what? a bunch of sore losers is really what they are. Just sore losers. Move on with your life. How much is your life is not going to change that much, whether it was Hillary or whether it was Donald Trump as president. It's not going to change that much. All right. At the end of the day, first of all, realize that everything is from God. It's not going to make a difference either way. Obviously, we have to do what we have to do. But they're such sore losers. I know I'm speaking to a bunch of women, so don't get me. The same thing is very similar to the feministic. The feministic rights. Feminists. Let's get a little bit uncomfortable here, shall we? Okay. So, it's like, we'll assume they want part of the good stuff. They're like, no, they still want the men to take them out, to open the doors, and split. You want equal rights? Split the bill on the dates. You want equal rights? You open my door. It's not equal rights. I want stuff that's good for me. I want more stuff for me and not stuff for you. And granted, it's not across the board. Obviously, for equal pay, so I'm all up for that. And I'm not bashing the whole movement in itself. Oh man, the emails I'm gonna get. All right, whatever. I'm not bashing the movement, but if you think about it for just a little bit, what is it that they actually want? It's very contradictory. It's very, it makes, and you look at it, all for the sake of love and peace is where the war comes. Where everyone starts arguing on this, and the amount, how much riots and people are they put the signs, not my president. You're still paying taxes to the same president. You know what? And you still, whether you call him your president, you don't call him your president, he's your president. Well, you're still living in the country. Move to Canada. Go ahead. We don't need you anyways. So, we have 400 million people here. Real estate is already going up as is. We need to, Anyways, not the Jews. The Jews stay. I'm talking about. Oh, this is wow. I'm going way off today. Whew. All right. My evil side is coming out. All right. So moving forward for Mashiach. It doesn't matter. Mashiach is coming anyways. What's the difference? What I was going to say. Okay. So it says also that in the time of the Mashiach, there's not going to be any more judges or policemen that enforce the Bet Din. So which means the rabbis could say something, and I'll be like, I'll find a different rabbi. I don't know if I said this story before. I had a guy that I was working with him for a long time, keep Shabbat, and he was, we're getting closer and closer and closer. And then one day he comes over to me and he says, Rabbi, no offense, but I found a rabbi I like better than you. I'm like, Baruch Hashem, enjoy, Chazak Baruch, I'm all for that. So, but tell me, what did he? So he said, I was speaking to him and I said, I have this one rabbi who keeps on hounding me about Shabbat and all this, stuff. Is it really true? Is it really so serious? And the rabbi said, listen, it's important, but if you can't do it, do whatever you can. God's going to love you anyways. Don't worry about it. I'm about like, if this guy had a beard, I would have pulled it. Who you're a rabbi? What do you call yourself a rabbi? That's not a rabbi. You're not allowed to go. You see over here that people go. You know what? People say certain things for their ratings, and we'll soon see about that very soon. When in the times of Mashiach, the rabbis are not even going to be the ones leading the congregation anymore. The congregation is going to be leading it, and we'll soon see. So. It says also that Mashiach is going to come. Ben David will not come until there's going to be many informers. Informers like a Mosel. So to explain it this way, in Israel, and I've asked also accountants over here, they said also it's over here, if you go and you go to the IRS, or to the Israel version of IRS, and you say, listen, I know a guy who's not paying taxes, and the IRS goes and investigates, and uncovers X amount of money, you get a percentage of that money. I think like 10 or 15%. So some people actually go and they befriend, these people. And be like, oh, so what, your business is good? How good? And they go and they befriend it. Then they're like, oh, you know what? And they go to the IRS, and this is how they make the panas out. They get a guy who has a nice business, and he didn't pay $1 million in taxes. He just made, 150 grand. So this, by the way, is a mosel. It's one of the worst things that a person can do. It's a terrible, terrible thing. So it says that Ben David, and this is what's going on in Israel. I think it's going on over here also. It says that Mashiach is not going to come until you're going to have informers. Also, this is very interesting, that Mashiach is not going to come. It says, it goes on the whole Shemitah cycle. It's going to be hunger and famine, and then wealth, and then there's going to be hunger again, and it goes in a cycle. Then the 6th year of the Shemitah of 7 years, the 6th year, there's going to be something very interesting. You're going to hear noises. You're going to hear noises, and alternatively, it's also referring to shofar sounds. You should not go on YouTube.
No, it's on YouTube.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, okay.
No, only because someone else showed me.
Yeah, no, it is.
Like a couple of years ago.
It is.
In all different parts of the world.
It's very recently, within the past few years, you go on YouTube and you type in noises from the sky or something weird, shofar sounds even, and you'll see people are actually videoing it. Some that happens in Israel, some it's who knows where. It's like and you hear, Yeah, I think it was in America also. Like the video, they're like, where is this noise coming from? And you hear people, they're like, what's going on? They go out of their houses, and it sounds like noises are coming from the like usually when a noise comes, you could figure out, okay, it's going from that direction. It's coming from all over the place. It's like literally coming from above. And the Gemara says,
Weather phenomenon, no?
The weather's gonna be crazy.
for the past 5 years, it's been going on for a while all over the world. It's possible. It's possible that you could use some sort of scientific explanation, but it says in the Gemara, there's going to be noises. And after the noises, there's going to be a war, and after the war, Mashiach is going to come. But it's crazy. You go, and I've heard these things, that you literally hear shofar sounds. It sounds like, like practicing, like they're like working away. There's something, I don't know if this is true or not, but I'll put it out there. I saw a few years ago, there was somebody videoing the clouds, and on the clouds it looked like there was a city on the clouds. You guys know what I'm talking about? You guys see that?
Yeah.
You saw it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's like it was like in China or something. It looked literally like you had buildings on top of clouds. I don't know what that. It's really.
If it was true, they would have shown it on the news, no?
I don't know. I don't know.
The news doesn't cover everything.
No.
I want to hear.
Yeah, the news gives exactly. It happens to be, it's a pretty interesting story. But, it's possible that it's fake. It's possible it's fake. I don't know. I'm not one of those people who be like, let's check this authenticity. I'm like, you saw it, it looks cool, nice, move on along. I'm not wasting more time than I already did on it. But it's possible it's fake, it's possible not. I'm just putting it out there. Okay, so it says also in the time of Mashiach there's going to be a heavy secularization. The people are become very, very secularized. There and that we obviously see that. And it's funny because you have the Baal Tshuva and you have the secularization at the same thing. Not a contradiction because you see it right away. One person and one person. Even sometimes the two of the same person. So there it says also that the Zohar says that the merit. First of all, the one thing. Let's see if the one thing that Jews keep. Let's see if you guys could. What is the one thing that and it says what the Rambam says that one thing that the Jews are going to keep even in the end of days, even though they're not religious. Wow, very good. Brit Milah. Brit Milah. Well, and Yom Kippur. But Yom Kippur, it's going down now. There's not even people that don't even keep Yom Kippur. Even the religion. Yeah, it's branching off. You have people that are coming back and people that are completely not. Their parents used to at least keep Yom Kippur. They're not even doing that. So it goes on the other side. But Brit Milah makes no sense. Circumcised. Why would it makes no sense for somebody who doesn't keep the Torah, doesn't believe in the Torah, doesn't do anything. Why would they circumcise their kid?
They do it now, even in the hospital, even if they're not Jewish. It's
yeah, now it's a procedure, but they do it with a mohel. They'll do it with they'll get a mohel.
It's for cleanliness.
Yeah.
But that's if it's surgical, which I understand. But they'll do it. They'll get a mohel. They won't do it in the.
Oh, they'll do it.
They'll do it with the mohel. They find some old guy who's shaking like this and be like, yeah, forget about the surgeon. I want you. Like, why you want him? You don't even keep Shabbat. You don't keep it kosher. You don't keep anything. You want this guy. To cut. That's a joke. They obviously, mohel has to have very steady hands. I was once in a brit milah and the guy was like this, just shaking. I couldn't look. I'm like, the father was just like looking at it. I'm like, you got to say something. I don't know. Baruch Hashem, it went. I hope whatever. I don't know. But you come to that thing. It was very nervous. It was one of probably his first times. I was very nervous. My first time seeing such a nervous guy, made me nervous. And I'm like, this is, basically it's a profession you don't want to misslip at all. So, but you look at it, you look at these secular people, they go and they'll get a brit milah from a mohel. Why? You don't believe in it. You don't believe in Torah. You don't keep Shabbat. You don't keep Kasha. Yet you're going to get brit milah, and we see it nowadays. That's what it says it's going to be after in the end of the days. And the Zohar says also in the merit of Jews that have circumcised themselves, their enemies are going to be vanquished, and they will inherit their inheritance. So the Zohar says big things about that. Maybe they read the Zohar. That's why they know. I don't know. Fat chance. Okay. Furthermore, it is going to say in the time of Mashiach that there is that in the batei midashot, in the like the synagogues and the places where study is going to use for znut, promiscuity, not holy things, and but I heard this story a few years ago that there was there's a certain, I'm not going to put any locations or names, but there's a certain place that people go and they gather for, you have a yahrzeit, so on the anniversary of the death of a certain righteous person, many people go to, they make a thing, they actually go to it. You have places in Uman, I'm sure by Yachai is a very famous one, so something like that. It was like some places that you have thousands and thousands and sometimes even hundreds of thousands. People come to not to celebrate, but go to pray by the gravesite of the tzaddik that passed away. So there was one particular story that there was a family, I don't know, they went and some people would go, they have tents and they sleep there the night before, so they get there. And there was one woman that got caught basically in somebody else's tent, not her husband's tent, and committed the worst of the worst. And you look at that, people are gathering for holy causes, and look where they get. Look where they end up. They end up at the bottom of the bottom. It says also that people will despise those who fear sin. People that are, like, oh, come on, you fanatic, get out of here. There are rabbis that get trash talked on the internet, on all these things from different people. Why? Because they speak about fear, about sin, about be careful not to sin. I'm like, oh, this guy's too strict. And you should see the amount of lashon hara that goes out against these types of people. That's what it says. Before Mashiach comes, they're gonna despise those who fear sin. Okay, so. There's going to be now a lot of information that I'm going to take from a book. If anybody wants any more information on this, that in more depth, there's a book called Redemption Unfolding. This is written by Rabbi Alexander Aye Mandelbaum. Usually, where I get my information, I usually go through, I go through Gemara, I go through the Psukim, I go whatever, there's all parts, wherever that I find it, then I go to see what the modern people, like more modern books, what they read. And I've gone through many Mashiach modern books on whatever, it wasn't to my liking. And then there was one book that I came, I'm like, usually I take bits and pieces and I'll plug it in. This book was so good, I literally had to put the entire book in here, like almost the entire book. He did such a great job in it. So we give credit where credit is due. So it's really a lot of this part over here that we're going to be moving forward with. It's going to be a lot of his research, his putting together, but it explains so beautifully. So we'll go through now through details on things that the Gemara says and things of what we spoke about. It says in the times of Mashiach, wine is going to be expensive. This is the Gemara in Sotah, page 49b, and so he gives one of the reasons why. First of all, if you think about it, we have the amount of grapes, let's say just used for wine, is plentiful. We have so much grapes, and I've heard this. I haven't seen it inside that in certain places they're actually throwing out the grapes because if they would flood the market, the price of grapes will go down so low that they wouldn't make any money from it. So they're actually chucking grapes into the oceans, into the things, so that they could actually, keep the value up. So it's not that and you look at, by the way, if anybody's a wine enthusiast or a Scotch enthusiast, the prices have been going up crazy. For Scotch, for example, has been going up crazy over the past few years. I remember that there was a bottle of Scotch, let's say, that was $60 like 5 years ago. Now it's $100. In 5 years, that is a tremendous jump. And why is it getting so expensive? Not because it's not, and one of the reasons is because everybody's going to be so into partying. Everybody's going to be so into drinking. That there's going to be, they could higher the prices and people will buy it. What is that called? Any economist over here?
It's oh my God, inflation. Inflation there.
No, it's not inflation.
But it's not inflation. Supply and demand. Yeah, supply and demand. So you have the more people the more the demand, the higher the price is going to be, because people are going to pay for it only. And anyways, and this is the problem. That nowadays people confuse this world, which is temporary, for the permanent world, and they focus their entire life is focused on this world. Their job is focused 100% in this world, and they'll work 17 hours a day, spend 3 hours sleeping, maybe 25 seconds with their kids, and 5 seconds with their wives, and that's it. And the rest of the time, it's all about money. It's all about money, and they're confusing. Forget nothing for Hashem, almost nothing for Hashem. They're using the whole world for this. And the Chavot al-Vavot, he explains it very beautifully. He actually explains it, and it says, if you look at somebody who is not accomplishing a lot in life, he's not, achieving a lot. What do they consider him? Lazy, loser, not successful. Who's successful? Somebody who's able to accomplish a lot, is able to buy buildings and have a lot of, businesses and a lot of money and a lot of cars and a lot of it. That's a successful guy. So we're even putting the focus on the wrong places. We're putting the focus on where are we giving success to people where they're successful in this world. That's what we do. And what happens if, and this is actually, I like this thing. They make their stomachs their gods and their clothing their Bible, and that's it. The rest of it is all. It's all about here and now. And this is not the way of the Torah. This is not the way that the Jewish mindset. This world, granted how important it is still very temporary. And imagine that you spend all. It's like. I guess you could use the best example is the example that the Pirkei Avot gives. That you have somebody who's building a mansion, and in the mansion they have beautiful, let's say, driveway or hallway or whatever it is, and they build a mansion, but it's like nothing inside it. But they spend the rest of their money, millions and millions of dollars, just bedazzling the hallway. The driveway will have, all their money and then they're like, it got to look nice. And then by the time they get into the big mansion, it's going to be empty. There's nothing in there. Why? Because they wasted their entire time and money all on the entranceway. And the same thing in this world. This world is a hallway. It's an entranceway to the next world. And people are so busy bedazzling their hallway in this world that they're leaving nothing in the next world. When they come to the next world, they're going to be naked, have nothing. Their mansions are going to be bare minimum. So and even furthermore, the way that it's so, I don't know about how bad it is by the woman's side, but men. If, let's say, and I've had this conversation so many times, with, I'll speak to somebody and be like, you know this person? Be like, no, I have no idea. Be like, oh no, he's the guy who drives the GX 470. The LX, you give him the name of the car. I'll be like, oh yeah, of course I know him. He's my best friend. It's like, oh yeah, the guy's great. People classify them not even by names anymore, but what they drive. By the way, who's the guy? Is that the guy who drives the Lexus or the Mercedes? Like, no, that's the guy who drives the Jaguar. Oh, that, of course, yeah, he's a great guy. They classify people by their cars or by their clothing or by where they, not by who they actually are. And you know what's even the bigger shocker? You have these people, Jewish people, that they know everything, whatever they're into, cars, technology, what else are people into nowadays? Clothing, jewelry. They know everything about that, but you ask them what this week's parasha is. You're like, wait a minute, so Purim is coming up, and we had Shemot, they don't even know, they don't, better yet, what was last week's parasha? You were in synagogue, you were a Jew. What was last week's parasha? No clue. Why? Because they were talking the whole time during davening. They had no idea what was even going on. You have people that, and what are they talking about? The cars, the business, and it always, it sometimes it gets under my skin. I'm walking to shul, I'm walking in shul, and people are talking in there. What are they talking about? They're talking about, first of all, it's like if you wouldn't have said anything, you would have not lost anything. Which means is they spend, 20 minutes, a half hour talking about nothing. It's the most, it's such a shocker to me how you could sit there and talk about nothing for so long. And not only that, you talk about nothing for so long in a time where it's most important to be quiet. To shut up, to keep your mouth closed. And that's when they're going to go and that's going to say, oh, you heard about this business and this guy made money and this guy, it's not even your business. You're not even talking about your business. You're talking about somebody else's business. Probably Lashon Hara, and you're talking about that when you shouldn't be talking. And it's beyond mind-boggling to me how this works and how people are completely oblivious to this whole, the whole Torah, basically. It's like they're sitting there, they're coming to shul already, but yet they have no idea what's going on. It's like, right over the head. So, the people are living for the wrong reasons. There is also it says in the Gemara in Sotah, it says the face of the generation will be like the face of the dog. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but what's funny? I've gotten these let's say emails or things years ago, and suddenly all plugs into random things. So I once got it wasn't a video, but it was a list of pictures. You had on one side the owner and the other side the dog. And I don't know if you guys seen this, how they look alike. They look alike, the dogs and that. And it was scary how it was actually, you see an old guy with, droopy cheeks, and then you see the pit bull, with the droopy cheek, or whatever, not the pit bull, whatever it is, the smushed face dog, that has the droopy cheeks. And for all the dog lovers out there, I'm sorry, I apologize. I don't know the correct nomenclature for, dogs. And, but it looks exactly the same. Says Rashi, it says Rashi, Pnei hadok pnei hakelev, in the Gemara in Sotah on page 49b, it says literally, they're going to literally look similar to the dogs. Literally, you're talking about, this is literally what it says. No words. It's happening now. This obviously happening now. Yeah, and even more, he gives another interpretation. We're going to speak a little bit about the dogs. So the generation will also not be ashamed of one another like a dog is not ashamed of another. Dogs are never ashamed. If anybody, has a dog or has seen a dog in their lifetime, they know a dog is going to see another dog. What are they going to do? Straight to the butt. Let's smell. What do you mean? There are people over here. Well, who cares? Forget about that. You're moving. The dog's going to do its marital duties on you. Regardless of whatever it could be. It doesn't matter. They're not ashamed of nothing. So too, in the end of the days, the people are not going to be ashamed. And you could see what's going on. Even the non-Jews. There's no shame anymore. There's no shame what people do in the streets. It's they do things that they'll get them arrested, that they'll get them without any problem, without any shame, without any issues whatsoever. Furthermore, it says, the Mashiach explains that a dog in Hebrew is kelev. Kelev is like kulo lev. It's all about his heart, or you could say kilev. He's like a heart. Why is a dog similar to a heart? Thank you. A dog is considered a heart because a dog is a very loyal creature, and it is. I've seen. Here's where more useless information comes in handy. I've seen someone send me. This was actually pretty recent, that somebody was getting arrested, and his dog was nearby. And the dog saw that his owner was, getting put in handcuffs, something like that. So the dog jumped out of the car and started running towards the cop. And the cop went, and it was like a scary dog. And he went and he shot the dog, a few times, and it actually died. The dog was willing to risk his life, stop after the first gunshot comes to you. The dog wouldn't stop. The dogs are very loyal creatures. They're very loyal, and we see why, because they are, Kelev, literally the name is Kelev. He is heart. A dog is like a heart. And a heart is like Lowell, it has the emotions. But he says that in times of Mashiach, you know why the people are going to be similar to the dogs? Is that outside, they're going to look like they care. But inside, they don't care at all. You hear like somebody, and was going back to what we spoke about by gossip, somebody's going to come over and say, I heard really bad news, and you'd be like, what? Oh my gosh, what happened? Like, this family, they're getting divorced, and inside there's like sparks flying, and you're like so happy. You'd be like, well, so I guess my marriage is not that bad. You heard about them? They're sucking up. You're like, oh, this person just lost his job, and be like, oh wow, and outside, you're like, oh, I feel so bad, it's so terrible. Sometimes it lights up a little bit, it sneaks out over there. But inside, you're like, there's a reason why people like gossip. You know why people like gossip? Because it makes themselves feel good. If somebody else is doing bad, that means I'm not so bad. And if I'm not so bad, that makes me feel good. And people, outside they look like they care. And inside they're like, the opposite. Give me more gossip. I want to hear it. Why? Because it makes me feel happy about myself. This is like, the generation is like the dog. Outside we look like we care. Inside we do not. Also, the Eitz Yosef explains that the leaders of the generation, which is referring to wealthy people, are going to be like dogs. Dogs are very stingy. Try giving a dog a bone and then ask him to share. See how that's going to work out well. Dogs don't even share their food, even if they have a lot. They're not going to share their food. They're very territorial. They're very and stingy people. Even like they could be very very wealthy people. I know I gave $18 this month. I'm okay. I don't have to give any more charity. But but you made like 65 million last year. But no, you gotta save it. I'm investing in this. Yada yada yada. So they're being very stingy, just like the dogs. Rabbi Saul Salanta, and this is probably one of my favorite of the interpretation of the dog. He says that give you an example. Like have you ever seen you walk around over here and people walk the dogs without a leash? First of all, it drives me crazy. But my daughter is scared, petrified of dogs, which it works well for me because it gets so close. She's like she grabs me. She's like no, and she got the biggest squeeze possible. So granted, as a father, I do enjoy that. Granted, I probably shouldn't walk near dogs. But for that reason. But you look at a dog, keep it on a leash. If you're walking, it makes don't worry about it. The guy is safe. Yeah, he's safe until he bites somebody, and then all of a sudden he's growing. He's like, don't worry about it. He's very friendly. Like, why is he not stopping to bark then? Nonstop. He's like, bark, and I was like, oh, he's such a friendly dog. Like yeah. I don't know to who. So one of the things is you see the dog running ahead, and it looks like the owner is following the dog. But what happens when the dog runs to the corner and then there's a fork? What does the dog do? He turns around and looks where's the owner going to. And wherever the owner goes to, that's where he's going to go to. The same way as the leaders of the generation. You have a leader of generation, leader of a synagogue. He's going to say something, then he's going to look at the board. Approval? If it's not approval, if the board of members are not going to approve what he said, all of a sudden he's going to change his idea. So it looks like the leader of the generation is leading the congregation, but it's really not. It's really the few rich people that are on the board that are telling the rabbi what to say. This is exactly what's happening today in so many places that people are. Really, what it should be is if a rabbi is in a rabbi of a place, whatever he says goes. End of story. You can't argue with him. You cannot do anything else because he's a rabbi and he has the final say. That should be the way that it is, as opposed to now. We want to make a change, make the mechitza higher. Okay, we got to get a board meeting, and you gather all the ignoramuses, and they come in and be like, so we want to make the, why? I can't see my wife. How am I supposed to see all the other women besides my wife? You look at, all the people, they're the ones who are going to make the decisions, the people that don't know any Torah. The same idea. They're the rabbi is like, pretends to be like the leader, but is really looking in the bag for that. And obviously this is not on all cases, where there are many rabbis that, whatever they say goes, and if not, they go. So furthermore, it's when a dog goes and by the way, this should all really show you what's going on, how it's exactly nowadays. It should not, that this didn't happen. Back in the olden days, the synagogues used to have like a prison, a dungeon, if you may. Like if somebody didn't listen to the rabbi, it wasn't like it'd be like, okay, I'll just find a different synagogue. No, they put him in prison. Like that's the power the rabbi had. Nowadays, they put the rabbi in prison. So the issue is like this. The issue that about the dog, furthermore, when a dog is going in the street, what does the dog do? Non-stop on the floor, smelling, sniffing, going face always towards the ground. The same to the generation of before Mashiach comes, they're always going to be looking down at this world. They're always focusing on the ground. They're not focusing about the next world. They're not focusing about what's going to happen. They're focusing only here and now.
On their phones.
Oh, that's a good idea. That's very true. That is very true. By the way, it's terrible and I'm myself. It's terrible. I'm on it all the time. Even if you could say, okay, I'm doing good things, and it doesn't matter. You're still on. You're addicted to it. I was just in Israel, and I said the same thing I went last time in Israel. Israel, the places that I stayed, you're not allowed to have this. Some places have to actually hide it. I'll tell you even better. Some people in Israel don't even touch it. I had a Tehillim on there, and somebody wanted to say Tehillim, and I was like, does anybody have a Tehillim? So like, yeah, Yeshki, I have a Tehillim, and I opened up it, and I handed them the phone to say Tehillim, we're driving together, and they're like, no. And I'm like, no, it's Tehillim. I didn't know this thing existed. I'm like, no, look, it's Tehillim, you could say it. And they looked at me like, no. I thought they were, afterwards they were like, Tuma, like, sit down, get away from me. And afterwards, someone told me, no, there's some people that don't even touch the phone. They don't even touch this. They're smart, by the way.
Smartphones, they're smart people.
Yeah. They're the ones that are smart. So it's you look over there, you walk in the street over here. Now it's cold, so people put their hands in the pocket. But even still, they'll risk it. They'll freeze their arms so they could text. So they could scroll through their phone. They really are addicted to their phone. In Israel, it's nice, it's warm there. It's the Middle East. So you go over there, people are sitting there, they're going, the phones don't even have text messages. The phones are like the phones that I had when I was in Israel like 12 years ago. It's, back then it was kosher phones by default, just because it was not non-kosher phones yet. But yeah, they're kosher phones. First of all, kosher, it's stamped with like a hechsher. It's like literally, it's like badatz. Then you have the not so kosher phone, and then the more modern phone, and then you have probably the Satan's phone, which is everything that we have today. So.
Well, guys, that's really good. Using it for good things. It's a different kind of.
Let's hope so. At the end of the day, it's better. To be honest, it's better not to have it. I'll give you an example. If you go on the internet right now, there's plenty of good things that you could do. But if someone were to ask me, they didn't go on the internet, say, listen, I want to learn Shua Torah, and I hear the internet's a good thing, I want to apply the internet, and just for Shua Torah, I said, don't do it. It's not worth it, because there's too much other stuff out there. If you already have the internet, if you already have the phone, and you're already on it, might as well use it for the good. But don't go onto it. Like, for example, putting classes on Torah classes on YouTube. You shouldn't. You should not go. If you have two places, for example, you're able to watch two places. You're able to watch in Torah anytime, or you're able to watch on YouTube. Watch in Torah anytime. There's no reason. Anybody who has ever in their history of the world gone to YouTube has ended up watching something that they never anticipated watching. Here's a cat in a tutu. But you're listening to this TED talk. You're listening to this TED talk, right? Did I say it right? Yeah. You're listening to this TED talk. About whatever it is that they're speaking, but and then you see the best people, how people fall down. Oh, this is funny. Let's watch as people failures, and you end up, and then what happens? 16 hours later, you come out like a zombie, like what just happened? You come out like at a daze. Like, how do I just spend 4 hours on YouTube when I just wanted to watch a tutorial on how to use Excel? And you come out of there, and it really sucks you in. So it's definitely a bad thing to do. I don't recommend doing it. Torah anytime, it's good. You go over there, you find another interesting shiur on its recommended list. Instead of seeing dancing cats, you could learn about other interesting Torah classes. Okay, so it says it says also in Kohelet, in chapter 5, the ninth pasuk. It says Ohev kesef lo yispa kesef. Somebody who loves money will never be satisfied with money. This is so true. It's not even it's not partially true. Huh? They want everything. You have a guy who's worth $12 billion, right? $12 billion, even if you fly in your private jet to land on your yacht, fly in your private jet to land somewhere else, take your private helicopter to your yacht, and then you take your yacht to your private island, and you buy constantly, non-stop, you still will not be able to use all that money. I mean, if you try really hard and you're really stupid, then you probably can. But generally, you have so much money, you're 80 years old, you have $12 billion, why are you still working? Why? So granted, you have people that they enjoy it, that they want to do it, fine. For the non-Jewish world, fine. But if you're Jewish, why are you not in the Bet Midrash? What do what can you possibly do now that you need to work for? You don't need to work for Parnasah. You could go and you could learn. Okay, then you could say, I'm supporting many organizations, so I want to do it. Fine, continue working, but at least half a day learn Torah. You could take away if you have your own business. You could learn something. So you look at it, people are never satisfied. They'll work until the day that they die. The successful people, they work until the day they die, and. Because it's all, I have 12 billion, but I could get 13 billion. I can move one up on the Forbes list. And, it becomes also more about honor, more about prestige. Okay, so, I have to skip a little bit. Okay, there's also an interesting story that I saw about, there was once a fisherman that used to live on this beautiful island. I used to fish for a living. One day, this very wealthy businessman came over, and he wanted to vacation, so he came to this island. And What do rich people do on their vacation? Two lazy sports. Either fishing, where they don't have to move much, or golfing. I don't know why golfing is even called a sport. And don't let me get on a tangent. Okay, so, gotta focus, Mashiach. So, no, I got golfing, right? So, you can't call it a sport if you hit the ball, and then you go into a car, and you drive to the next time that you flick the ball again. I'm sorry, that's not a sport. That's not something, people, cheat themselves. They really do. Yeah, I'm going to do exercise today. I'm going to do golfing. And it's funny. You listen to the commentators of golfing. Like you listen to commentators of soccer. It's like literally listening to someone who's on cocaine and a very, very, very high, just screaming the whole time. You don't even have to. Oh no! And the ball went to this and pedal, go! And everyone's like, oh yeah. Golfing, it's like you hear like the microphone. It's like it's like, and you hit the ball. It's going slowly. Oh, it's a birdie. I heard one comedian says if everyone's even a little bit more quiet, maybe we could hear the grass grow. It's literally people watch this also. People watch a sport that's not even a sport. I have nothing wrong against golfing, by all means. If that's what you enjoy doing,
I don't like golfing.
I don't have nothing wrong with it. If you enjoy doing it, you take that chazakabo. It's not a sport. One thing, if it's enjoyable, good, enjoy it. It's not a sport, all right? Sport is something that you have to sweat for. Unless you're jogging from one place to another, then call it a sport. But when you're taking a car service to the next spot where you have to hit it again, and then you're taking another, whatever. Anyway, so the fishman he's fishing, right? The other lazy sport. So again, not a sport. Where you're sitting on drinking beer, it's not considered a sport. So unless you're actually taking a spear and you're diving under the water and you're trying to manly just kill the fish, then fine, then it's a sport. So he's going and he's sitting under on the beach, and this businessman comes over to him and says, how you doing? He watches this guy for 7 hours. He's got his hat down there, he's got a little pipe, a little cold beer. He drinks over there, he catches a few fish, puts it in there, and he's ready to close up shop. So the businessman looks at him and says, I don't understand. He says, why don't you go into the boat? And if you go into the ocean, you could catch a lot more fish. So the fishman looks at him and says, why would I do that? The businessman says, what do you mean? If you do that, then you'll make more money. And he says, but what would it gain me afterwards? He says, no, if you make more money, then you could be able to buy 2 boats. And then you could hire people, and they could also go out there. And he says, again, what would I do? What would be the point of that? He says, and then you could get a bigger boat, and nets, and you could, get more fish. And the fisherman says, but what would be the point of all this fish? What would I do with all this fish? You'd have a warehouse, and then you could ship worldwide. You have a big business. And he says, but what would be, why would I need so much of a headache? Why would I need that? He says, I don't understand. He says, I'm giving you great business advice. Then you can have big businesses like me, and you go vacationing like me. And so the fisherman looks at him and says, you're vacationing where I live all year long, and the things that you're vacationing, I do all year long. So why do I have to go in a full cycle to get where I am right now? The fisherman was a smart man. He says, I'm enjoying life right now. Why I have to work so hard to get all the stress to do all that to get where I am right now? I'm right here right now. So the same thing is with people in this world. They go and they focus like the businessman. They think like, okay, we're going to do more, and we're going to get this, and we're going to get this. At the end of the day, you're going in a full circle and only ending up at the same place that you came, and that's going to end up 6 feet under. So if you look at the most of the wealthiest people that ever lived, of the smartest person that ever lived until the time of Mashiach, is Shlomo Melech, King Solomon. What it says in Kohelet, chapter 23, verse 23. Sof davar hakol nishma et alakim yira vet mitzvah shemo ki zeh kol ha'adam. He had money, he had power, he ruled the world, he ruled everything. He even ruled the demons. And he had the power of everybody. You look at the smartest guy who had everything. He says, you want good advice? Don't chase money, don't chase all these things. Good advice. What you need to do, fear God. Fear God and do the Torah, do the mitzvot, because that's the end of everybody. That's the end of the thing. You want to take good advice. There are people that listen to Bill. Oh, it's so funny. You have like someone who's very, very wealthy. All of a sudden he's a genius. He knows everything. The guy could be so stupid. By the way, this is not, wealth doesn't equal, education, smarts, intellectual, being intellectual doesn't mean that you're going to be wealthy. Sometimes the dumbest people are the wealthiest people, and sometimes the smartest people are the poorest people. They're overqualified for everything. So it doesn't mean anything. But you look at what Shlomo Melech, the smartest man, says, what are you chasing? Everything is hevel avalim. It's nothing. It's a waste of time. Don't waste your time with that. He says this is, the wealth, and in fact brings it brings a lot of problems to the person. Because what happens is if a person is wealthy, first of all, they think that they earned everything. They deserve everything. Wealth comes with arrogance. Arrogance comes with pride and anger and all the other great qualities that you do not want to marry into. It's these issues that you're so engrossed in pursuing your happiness because you're able to get it, you're able to buy this, you're able to buy that. So you're so focused that all you end up doing is just digging your hole deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into this world. If you look at the way that the world works now and how people bring up their kids, it's very unfortunate because it happens in both in the Jewish world and the non-Jewish world as well. What happens when a child finishes high school? Take your SATs. We're going to put you in college. You're going to be a doctor. You're going to be a lawyer. You're going to be an architect. You're going to be this. You're going to be that. This is what the parents are infusing into their children. And what do the children hear nonstop? The parents usually they sit around and they talk nonstop about money. All about money. Sometimes their money, sometimes mostly other people's money. About what's going on there. You see the house that they bought? The guy makes the same much as me. I don't know where he got the money from. It was an inheritance. And then you have the two, guessing, speaking about lashon hara about their neighbor. And then you have, look at the new car he got. Keeping up with the Joneses. Keeping up with the Joneses. It's literally, it's like jealousy. It's literally, it should be just like, the title should be just jealousy, not keeping on. It's like, if my neighbor has it, then I need it also. And this is how people live their life. So, the problem is that when you're bringing your children up, and this is what you tell your children, only about money, only about this focus, only about that, then this is the only thing that they're going to find importance in. And this is why we have the nutritionist, right?
Yeah, but don't worry.
Okay. When is she coming?
Probably soon.
Okay, so you have the parents, and this is what they're infusing in their children. They don't, infuse them. I want you to be a big Talmid Chacham. I want you to be a big tzadikah, marry a big Talmid Chacham. You're going to marry a doctor. What's a famous Jewish thing? You're going to marry a doctor or a lawyer. That's what you're going to marry, right? And this, this is what the parents are teaching their children. So what's the children's focus in life going to be? It's going to be about money, because this is how they grew up. They could have grown up with svarim everywhere, and mezuzot and two on every doorway. Who cares? At all sides, mezuzot, everything, Torah, kedusha. But all the parents are showing the importance of money. Then the kids are going to come up with the importance of money, and guess what? Their main focus in life is going to be money. And I'm not saying money is not important. You need money. You need to be able to work. You need to be survived. But what is your focus in life? If your focus in life is only about money, then you're living for nothing. You're living to end, to die, to have nothing in the next world. And this is why the famous part in the Torah where we bless our children. Yaakov blessed Yosef's children, Ephraim and Menashe, and the famous little switcheroo thingy. So you had Ephraim and you had Menashe. Menashe was really the older boy. Ephraim was a younger boy. Menashe, his profession was he was second to the king. He helped the king, which is his father Yosef. He was in the business world. You had Ephraim. He was with Yaakov Avinu. He always learned Torah. And Yaakov went and he blessed who first with the right hand? Ephraim, the one who was learning Torah. So Yosef goes over to his father and says, Dad, he says, this one is not, usually you bless the older one first. The older one is Menashe. And the father says, no, it's going to stay the way that it is. And there's many reasons given, but one of the reasons given is because the focus in life should be Simcha Elokim ke Ephraim v'chi Menashe. First, your focus in life should be like Ephraim. Ephraim, the focus is what? The focus is Torah. The focus is focusing on the next world. And then Menashe. And then this world, Panasah and business and all those things. But that should be your main focus in life. And many people switch it around. They put the focus first on money, and then if possible, please be religious and Jewish and make your grandmother some babies so we could have something to go to. And that's really it's a shame. It's bringing over an education that is not really productive for what it should be.